Hello everyone. Wow, this thing is so delicious. Now, hope you're doing well. Hope everything is in control as much as possible. And tonight, or today, depending wherever you are, I want to talk to you a little bit about blood pressure and how we can help it out. Now, there are lots to say, but I try to make it as condensed as possible because I know the ones who have blood pressure, they want to get to the meat of the matter and they're not particularly maybe not interested in the story or how this thing came about and the progression of it, as far as my case was concerned. But so I'll try to be brief. Suddenly, while my whole life has been full of sports and activities and exercise and eating right, and I don't smoke, I don't drink, I don't use any kind of a substance, and I don't even have coffee. I love tea. But suddenly, last year, I saw that I had blood pressure. Sure enough, panicked about it. I went to the doctor, and the first thing he says, "Oh, I got to put you on medicine right away." I said, "Hey, hold on. I got to figure it out how I can do what I can do by myself on natural stuff and so on." He said, "Oh, if you want, okay." So how much time? I said. He said, "Oh, okay, 3 months. Come back." And so okay, I went on. The first thing I did, well, I recognized the negative things or negative people around me, so I got rid of all that situation, because many of these things have a lot to do with your blood pressure. How tension or situations that create tension and so on, you got to get rid of that, all of that. So I did that, the first thing to do, because it has a lot to do with, is a big part of blood pressure. The other parts remained, that to continue the healthy living, healthy eating, exercise, and all of that are very, very important. And of course, quickly, right away, I went on certain kind of a juice mixture, all the juices, and stopped eating for the first 3 to 4 days, and it helped and so on. But it took time. As soon as I got rid of the negative situations and negative influences or negative stories or whatever it was around me, and the negative people or whatever it was, things start changing by itself. Then add that to the diet again, the special diet of juices and things like that. That also helped me so far. So this whole thing went on, and I went to my naturopath, and then he gave me. He told me that of course you need to have calcium, and so he put me on some nice liquid calcium, and he also explained to me that when the heart pumps the blood out, the arteries also apparently have muscles, and they need to contract and let go and so on. And he says if you don't have enough calcium, they don't do their job right. They may contract, but they don't let go as they should, or however the rhythm is supposed to be. So I was listening to all these things and accumulating all the information. And then he also, these were of course not from my immediate naturopathy, was from some research, some well-known naturopathic researchers that I picked up on internet and so on. So, and I also then realized that they say that if antioxidants are not gotten rid of every day as they should be through the natural process of the body, and they're not killed and gotten rid of the body, they would have more opportunity to stick themselves to the aortas or the pathways of our blood through our veins and so on and so forth. But I also learned that apparently these free radicals, if they're not gotten rid of it, they'll stick themselves to the walls of the veins and not the veins that are bringing blood into the heart, but the veins that are actually taking blood out of the heart. And mostly these attachments happens around the curves of this I forgot the word of it, but this not the aorta necessarily, but the thick veins. And so when they do that, because they also say, they use this analogy, which is actually pretty true. When you see when you see beaches in the ocean, most beaches that look like horseshoes, that's where the water comes and gets stuck. So because of its curvature, it has more opportunities for the sand to stick themselves to the walls and more residue there, and create a bigger or more sandy beaches there on these sort of horseshoe looking beaches. So the same thing with the curves of these arteries, that they will give more of a landscape for the free radicals to stick themselves to it. And so what happens was, when they do this, stick themselves to the walls, then the cholesterol runs there and says, hey, what are you doing? And just cleans it up and kind of repairs that cut or that problem that the free radical, by sticking themselves, creating inflammation on the walls of the arteries, and then kind of covers it. So if this thing keeps continuing by the free radicals keep coming, and then cholesterol running and putting kind of covering it up, eventually it becomes thick in that area, and then hence problems, cardiovascular problems, and of course it obviously, in my opinion, affects the blood pressure too, because if it's tighter, then harder the blood can go through, and of course that could be one of the reasons for blood pressure. So short of the long is that I increased my antioxidants intakes, such as the supplements, which are like things like astaxanthin, alpha lipoic acid, CoQ10, resveratrol, grapeseed, and vitamin C, of course, and things like that, which would help to get rid of the free radicals, to not allow them to do this, sticking themselves to the walls of the arteries and so on, to cause the cholesterol run around, try to clean it up or patch it. So that's one thing I did. And the other thing is that eventually I learned more and more, and of course my exercise was continuing. And then I started making a good concoction of juices. And I looked at this video that was done by this Australian wealthy man, who through his, found wealth by his, works earlier on. His lifestyle was full of partying and eating lots of meat and cakes and drinks and all these things, and eventually had gained lots of weight, and his health was in really terrible shape, and he was breaking out, all kind of rashes. And then eventually started a special juice diet, nothing but juice for 60 days. And the juices were all made by him at his place, at his home, or wherever he was. And they were all green leaf juices and a combination of wonderful things, that eventually he got off of all these drugs that he had to take while he was being monitored by his doctor through this regime of juicing. And eventually, in 6 days, he was on his way and lost lots of weight, and he continued it and came back to health, which was amazing, inspiring video. So while I was doing all the right things, but when I saw that one, I said, well, hey, great, I should continue that. And I continued the juices that I loved, and I also had read in Dr. Walker's book, who was a food researcher, a British doctor, apparently, who lived to the age of very old. I hope I'm not wrong. Was 120 years old, and he looked great. And he, in his book, explained which vegetables together is good for what, and so on and so forth. And we used to do that when my son was little. Even from childhood, we gave him all these juices, which was very helpful for what we were hoping to achieve. Now, so, however, let me show you what this is made out of. Then I'm going to tell you two more things that was instrumental to bringing my blood pressure to a healthy level. My blood pressure did go up as high as 180 over 110. And of course, you know, I changed the situation, and again, the people that were had something to do with it, I got rid of all those negative time and situations, and then was able to bring it more in control. And then, in addition to all the right things to do, then eventually a year later I got the results that I'm enjoying now. In the meantime, my naturopathic doctor gave me something was very interesting called aspergus, something like that. Gee, I should remember what it means. Parsagus is a derivative from asparagus. In fact, if you just make asparagus, you know, 3-4 minutes in the hot water, and then have it, like 15 or 16 of them a day I had them, and they would actually bring your blood pressure down. It's amazing. And apparently it has something that also protects your kidney. So I've been taking that too, and then now it's been, you know, a week. I don't really take them because the blood pressure is so good that I kind of wonder, you know, maybe I don't need to take that, which is fine. So I'm trying not to forget the things that I want to share with you about this juice, which is very delicious and very good. I start my morning with it, and I can juice it anytime I want. This is made out of a bunch of lovely things. Now let me show you. This is pretty much what this juice is made out of. Yeah? You have a couple of apples. You can make that, if you want a little sweeter, you can make that 3 apples. You have about close to half a pound of carrots, depending on how you like the taste. You'll get used to how you want it done. 1 stick of celery. This much kale. Now they usually come in long leaves, and but this one is chopped up. I was lazy to wash them, so I bought them washed. So it came like this. But you crumble them like this, boom, you know, hard, and then you shove it into the juicer, and you put an apple on top of it, so it will just shove it down. Before you put that in, you may want to put the beet in there. This much beet, this much kale, 1 apple, your carrots, a stick of celery, and some parsley, like this much. It's not much. It looks like much, but it's not much. And then this much cucumber. And if you want to have a little extra taste, really refreshing taste, maybe just a little bit of a mint. That's it. You bunch them all together, and you know, crumble the vegetables, put them in the juicer, juice it up, and you'll end up with a beauty like this. Life elixir. Naturally, you will reduce the garbage that you may be eating, fatty stuff and so on and so forth. Of course, you know, meat and other good stuff get a bad rap because they say, oh, it has cholesterol, this and that. But you know, cholesterol being high itself doesn't mean much. You got to find out what kind of molecules, what size of the molecules are in that cholesterol. For example, LDL, if it's high, you still got to know what kind of a molecule. There are 3 different sizes. The little sizes are the molecules that go and create trouble by sticking to the walls of the arteries and so on and so forth. But if it's all big ones, doesn't matter if it's high. It's all good and normal. So you got to find out what it is. I think there's a test called PA and PA2. I think there's a test that tells you the size of the molecules of the cholesterol, if it's high or whatnot. Then you will know. Your doctor knows all this. And first of all, remember, I'm not a doctor, and you got to do your own due diligence. Talk to your doctor before you do whatever it is that I'm saying. Don't come back and say, oh, you said to me, don't take my pill. Or I say none of that stuff. I'm saying what worked for me, what I did. So you make your own decisions. You talk to your doctor, consult your doctor, and figure out if you should do it or shouldn't do it, and all that stuff. Okay. Having said that, to your health. And then another thing that I did do, okay, so you will make sure your food will not be, the regular stuff, all the cake and stuff. You control the intake of your fatty and stuff, bad fat and stuff like that. But it doesn't mean that just avoid cholesterol altogether, because our brain is 75% cholesterol. I mean, and everything else, that you as a man you want to be active in, of course it needs cholesterol and so on. So you need to have things like soft-boiled egg is good cholesterol and stuff like that. So, but again, ask your nutritionist and ask your doctor to be more clear, because I've been doing these things and so far so good. The other thing is that you want to make sure that your exercise is continuous. Even if it's half an hour of walk every day, that's great. Light exercise, good eating, good sleep. Get the stress events and things out of your way. Stressful people out of your way. These are the first thing you got to do. And then with the stuff that I said to you, it doesn't mean that eat this and then eat everything else too. This is supposed to replace a bunch of part of your food intake during the day, and then eventually you lose weight. But when I start seeing a real big change was when I actually cut off sugar 100%. Sugar and bread, it's about 4 weeks that I've had no sugar, no bread, nothing direct. Like, it's natural sugar in the fruits and stuff, that's a different story. But I haven't been taking any sugar. Yeah, I took a couple of pieces of chocolate just a few days ago. I just felt like it. But I do take honey sometimes. Not often, but sometimes I feel like it. But as soon as I stop taking sugar, eating sugar in the way of anything, in my food, chocolate, dessert, whatever, and bread because I know it just makes me chubby. Of course, and I haven't been doing much of an exercise, unfortunately. I haven't had the chance to, but I've lost weight because sugar and bread, you cut them off, you lose weight no matter what. And but once I cut sugar out, suddenly blood pressure dropped like a stone out of the air. Just boom. I could see it clearly. So that was a good motivation to know I'm on the right track. Now, when I saw all these things are happening, the blood pressure was like 119, 120 over 75, 65. It was amazing. But it was low. Before it got this low, I did one more thing. With the sugar out and all these other good things that I've been doing, I start seeing it to be something like, 125, 128, 130 over 78, 80, 83, or even lower, 75. So I was very happy about it. But one more thing I did, and I saw this little thingy on the internet, came to my Facebook thing, these things floats around, and he was telling me about how good it is for immune system, for cholesterol, bringing cholesterol down, blood pressure, and all the other area of good stuff. If you mix in the mixture 7 lemon, this kind of lemon, 7 of them, with skin and all, with 21 garlic with the skin, like these the cloves that you get, you open them up and then you see all these little pieces. 21 of those, still with skin. Put them in the mixer, mix it. So I did, and then didn't taste that bad either. But then I had to add 1 liter of water and mix them, and then I had to put them in the stove, very small heat, to come up to 48 degree. I didn't know what 48 degree really was, but I just remember when I was a kid, I had sometimes when I was sick, I had 41 degree of Celsius fever. So I knew how hot that was. So I stick my finger into the pot and I said, oh, okay, this looks like, okay, 41. So I add about another 5 or 6, 7 degree heat. I waited until it was a little bit hotter than that. So I said, that's good enough. Then you gotta let it cool. And once it's cooled, you put it in a container, put it in the fridge. Every night, you have a small glass of it. It's like, like when you have, it's like, I guess it's like a shot of whiskey or something. I don't know if some of you would drink. But if you have, let's say, I don't know, a container like this, let's say if it's just a small cup or glass cup up to this height, and pretty much the same thickness, width. So inside of it, that would be the amount of that concoction that you will have every night. I pretty much did like 1/4, less than a quarter or a quarter of a cup, regular cup. So I've been doing that, and you do it after your meal, after your dinner at night. I thought I'm going to be stinky all day the next day, but no, it wasn't. It was pretty good. Nobody noticed. I didn't even notice. And it has, I have to admit, it must have, because right now I'm anywhere between 120 over 65, 120 over 75, usually 121, 123, 119, sometimes 108 over 65, 70, 74. So I'm very happy, and I thought I'd share this with you. Whoever wants to try this, try it. And don't forget about the juice. It's very good. Change your eating habits, exercise, get the wrong people out of your way, and try to deal with life a little bit more on a subdued way. We're getting older, so we better be just cool it. And the garlic thingy, the exercise, even a walk, and don't eat junk. Drink. I wouldn't drink it. I don't have a problem with not drinking, because I never really did. Maybe, I know what it is. But I never liked it, and don't like it. So that's it. That's all I have to say tonight. Hope it was helpful, and love you all, and all the best, and let me know how it's going. Salut.